Hi viewers, welcome to NCK Hub Consulting and Training. As part of our Golang playlist, this is the third video, and in this video, we will be discussing about the variables in Golang. So, what are the variables? So, a variable in Golang is a named storage location in memory that holds a value of a specific type. So, in order to save some values of specific type in a particular location, we name those locations as variables, and in for those variables we assign some values so that those values will be stored in a particular location inside the memory. So the main purpose of variables is to store the values inside the memory, and while we declare the variables, we particularly declare the types as well. There are certain situations where we cannot declare the types, and the program will automatically infer the types. Okay. Variables allow programmers to store and manipulate data efficiently. It's a pretty common thing across programming languages. So what are the rules that we need to follow for naming the variables in Golang? The very first rule here is to make sure that the variable name begins with a letter or an underscore. So when I say letter, it can be any kind of alphabet or an underscore. And the variable can contain digits from 0 to 9. And the third thing is the variables in Golang are case sensitive. So there is huge difference between lowercase and uppercase alphabets if you are trying to declare the names. Okay. And there are certain keywords in Golang, and we cannot use those keywords as variable names. So there are roughly around 25 to around 25 keywords in Golang, and we cannot use those keywords as variable names in Golang. And there is no specific limit in the length of the characters for the Golang, but it is recommended to have the limit from 4 to 15 letters at the maximum. That doesn't mean that you should not exceed more than 15. It can be exceeded, but standard recommendation for a programming language will be provided. And as part of that recommendation, we have the recommendation as 4 to 15 letters. And the other important thing here is the variable name should begin only with a letter but not with a number. So variable can contain numbers as part of the variable names, but it should start only with the alphabet. It should not start with number. And no special characters are allowed apart from the underscore. Underscore is the only special character that we have to use for naming the variables in Golang. Other than underscore, we are not supposed to use any other special character. Okay, these are certain rules that we need to make sure we follow while naming the variables in Golang. Hope we are very clear on the variables and the naming rules that we need to follow for naming a variable in Golang. Now, how do we declare the variables? So basically, Golang offers three variations in declaring the variables. Okay, so the very first usage is the very first way of declaring the variables is using the var keyword. Okay, so using the keyword var, we can declare the variables in Golang. How do we declare that? Let us see an example. Okay, so this is the very first example we have for the variables, and this is the way I declare the variables. So this string, int, float are the data types which we will be covering in the next video. But for us to declare the variables, we definitely need to use data types. For that reason, I have used here. But in the next video, we will be covering on a high level on what are all the data types that are available in Golang, and where do these types stand in. Okay. So now the very first thing we have discussed here is how do we declare the variables. The very first method is using the var keyword. So var variable name and data type followed by the value. So this is the initialization that we are doing along with the declaration. So we are declaring a variable of name and it is of type string and we are assigning a value to it. Okay, similarly in line number 8, we are declaring a variable of name age and it is a type of integer and we are assigning a value of 30. Similar way, the third line number 9, we are declaring a variable of name height and we are declaring that as a float type. Okay, so if you see in line number 11, we are trying to print all the three values. Okay, and the line number 13, 14, 13, 15, and 17, if you see, we are trying to identify the type of the variable. So Golang has a specific things called format specifiers, which allow us in doing these kind of activities. There are a lot of format specifiers. Out of those format specifiers that are available in Golang, percentage T is one of the format specifier that will let the programmer know the type of the variable. Okay, so why do we need to know the type of the variable when the programmer himself will uh, declare the variable using the data type? That will know very shortly, but there are certain format specifiers in Golang. With all the format specifiers, we will be coming up in a separate video, but at this point of time, percentage T is used as a format specifier to know the type of the variable. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to know the types of variables for name, age, and height. Okay. First thing in the case at line number 11, I'm trying to print these values. And in line number 13, 15, and 17, I'm trying to know the type of the variables. Let me execute this program. Yeah. If you see, after the program gets executed, it is Alice is the name, and 30 is the age, and 5.6 is the height. And if you see the next type of the variable name is string. Type of the variable, here I put the value as name. Okay, let me change here. Age, height. This is just to avoid the confusion. I'm just trying to execute again. So here if you see type of the variable name is string and type of the variable age is int, type of the variable height is float. So if you see the data types that I have used above, it is matching with the type. So percentage %t is a format specifier that is used for understanding the type of the variable. So this is the way we can declare and initialize the values for variables in Golang. This is the first way of doing it. Hope we are clear so far. And the second way is using short variable declaration. So what is short variable declaration? Before going to what is short variable declaration, there is one more thing. Okay, so first we'll cover what is short variable declaration and then we'll come back. So this is the concept of short variable declaration. You need not use any keyword. You can just give the name of the variable here. In this example, if you see here, name is the name of the variable and followed by a space. After the space, you need to give a colon and then immediately equal to, and then you need to assign the value. This is called short variable declaration in Golang. So this is one way of declaring the variables with var keyword. And this is another way of declaring variables using short variable declaration. Here, if you observe, you are not using var keyword at the same time. You are not specifying any data type. You are just declaring the name of the variable and you are just assigning the value. In this particular context, the compiler it itself will try to infer the data type. So that's the main reason in the previous example I showed you the format specifier D. So in this example, if you see, I did not define the data type for any of these variables. But if you execute this program, If you execute this program, we will be able to see the data types also. So Ramesh 21 5.5, it's the output from line number 11. And line number 13, variable type of the variable name is string. Type of variable age is integer. Type of the variable height is float. But if you see here in line number 7, 8, 9, I did not define any data type. Okay, so those data types are automatically inferred by the Golang compiler. Okay, so that is the importance of short variable declaration. So for short variable declaration, it is not mandatory to use var keyword. It is not mandatory to declare the use the data types during the declaration and initialization. Okay, that is the concept of short variable declarations. And the third one we have is declaring multiple variables. So this declaring multiple variables in a single line is applicable for both for both types of declaration. When I say both types, one is variable using var keyword and the other one is short variable declaration. First, we will see the concept of var keyword. So if you see this particular example, right? So line number 11, if you see, I created three variables here in single line with one var keyword. So var is a keyword that is used for declaring variables. And how many variables were declared? Name one, age one, and height one. And I have assigned values. So this particular line, when it gets executed, right? So it will automatically follow the sequential process. Okay, and if you see one more thing here, I did not declare any data types. So in this particular context also, compiler will automatically infer the data types based on the values that we assign to the variables. Okay, and before executing this program, please observe line number 7, 8, 9. In line number 7, 8, 9, I just declared the variables. I did not assign any values to them. So I just tried this particular scenario to make you aware what will be the case if you declare the variables. So usually in some programming languages, we'll have automatically assigned with the default values, and in some programming languages, we will have a garbage value. So what will be the case in case of Golang? How does the compiler treat the variables which are declared but not initialized? Okay, so in this program, if you see line number 13, 14, I try to do print for both the set of values. One is this particular set, the very first set, and the other one is this particular set. So these two things I'm trying to print in line number 13, 14. Let us try to execute this program and see how it goes. So in the very first one, we have only two zeros there. That means that integer and float default values are zero in case of Golang. And when you just declare the variables and if you do not initialize them in Golang, it will automatically take the default values. And for name, it is a string data type. So the default value for string data type is the empty string. So there are no garbage values inside Golang. So it will be used and it will be assigned or initialized with a default value by if at all there is only declaration but not initialization. Okay, and the second print statement, if you observe, we declared variables in a single line and we assigned values to those variables in a single line, but still the values were assigned perfectly. Okay, so the same example, if you come here in short variable declarations also, if you see line number 19, so I have declared the three variables followed by the short variable declaration syntax, space colon equal to space, and then the values that are assigned to it. And I'm trying to print this particular variables values in line number 21. Let me try to execute this program. I'll go with the current file itself. That's the easier one, I guess. So if you see here, I'm getting the output as Naresh 25 and 5.8. Okay, so this is the way we can try to do the variable declaration of multiple variables in a single line. Okay, so using var keyword and using the short variable declaration. Hope we are clear on the types of or the ways we can declare the variables in Golang, and what will happen if you just declare a variable but not initialize the variable during the declaration. Okay, so I think we are clear so far with the three examples, whatever we discussed. And the last concept we have is the in this particular video is types of variables or the scopes of variables in Golang. Like other programming languages, we have local variables as well as global variables. So global variables are declared outside the functions and is accessible throughout the program or package. But the local variables are declared inside the function and are only accessible within that function. And those variables do not have any scope outside the function. Okay, since we did not cover the functions topic very explicitly. I am not going to show an example at this point of time, but definitely when we talk more about the functions in Golang, I will definitely show you how do we declare the variables locally as well as global variables along with the constants. So like how we have in other programming languages, even Golang also have the feasibility to declare the constants, which is a constant value throughout the program and which cannot be edited or modified or anything as such. But since we did not cover the Go functions concept, I am not able to show you right now. But when we come to the concept of functions, we will definitely cover this particular examples to you on local variables and global variables along with the constants. Hope I'm clear on the topics that we have for this video. That's all for this video, and thanks for watching.